Mexico and UTEP?
Our lack of effort and energy. We left playing on a high level of effort and energy before we left for the break, and we didn't tap back into that when we got back. And we went out there, and in the UTEP game, I felt like even though as bad as we played, I felt like we had a chance to win late when we cut it to 7 with 3 minutes to play, but we kept giving up offensive rebounds, and it wasn't. When you go back and watch the film, it wasn't them, outworking us to get them. It was just we weren't locked in enough to box out and get the rebound and just step in front of bodies. And then the next night, like I said, I think it was just carryover. I mean, the 2 nights later, it was just carryover. It was like our lack of effort and energy. They had a home game. They had a crowd. They were enthused. We were coming to town, and they played with effort and energy, and we played with the lack thereof. So I think that's what it is. We got to get this thing turned around so we can come back at home and play with some life.
You talked last week about just how tough conference road games are, but do you feel like it was a wake-up call for your guys, especially the new guys?
I hope so. I mean, I hope it was a wake-up call because when you go into conference and you think that people are going to lay down because Louisiana Tech walks in, they got something different. I mean, we knew it would be a tough road trip. We're trying to get our new guys that don't understand how tough the road is in conference USA to kind of understand that. But it's like explaining what the ocean is. Somebody's never seen water. So they think, oh, we'll come in and we're 11-2 and we beat some good teams. We'll be okay. And I think we got popped in the mouth real good. And now they have a realization of how hard this league really is.
Daniel Bacho with 2 field goal attempts against New Mexico State. As you look back through the film, how does that happen, I guess?
A bunch of different ways. I don't think Daniel, I can't say I know what was wrong, but it was obviously something wrong with Daniel because his life, his energy wasn't there. And so my first thing was to check on him as a person to make sure he was okay and make sure everything was okay with him. But we just got to get Daniel back to playing like Daniel. I mean, I know the field goals was a concern, but I mean, there was no ball screen defense from Daniel. There was no contesting shots at the rim from Daniel. So there was something wrong. I guess I don't have the answer to that on what was wrong. Daniel have to find out that within himself, but I'm sure we'll get him back to being the Daniel we know who he is.
And I know we talked so much about his rebounding, but it seems like team-wise, even Caden's rebounding numbers have kind of taken a little bit of a dip here. And I know obviously the loss of Will has played a huge part in that, but I guess just overall team rebounding, where do you feel like things stand right now?
Well, they took a dip in those 2 games. Like I said, before we left for Christmas, that wasn't the case. I mean, we rebounded really great against Grand Canyon and Russ. I mean, that wasn't the case. So I think it's our lack of effort and energy in those 2 games on the road, our lack of being locked in. And like I said, I told everybody else, I take credit for that. It's my job to get us prepared. And so we went back to the drawing board. We had a tough practice yesterday. We'll have another tough one today. While mixing in some game plan for FIU, who plays equally as hard as those 2 teams. They play a different style, but equally as hard. And so we got to get locked into doing the things that it takes to win.
Last 3 games, you guys have put up over 30 3-point attempts. Last 2 games, it's under 30%. I mean, is it they're not falling, or is it shot selection? What do you think?
I think it's a lack of defense. We didn't get any fast break points. And, when you play against set defenses, people are really good. We got to get out and get points that we're normally used to getting. Bacho running the floor, our wings running the floor, and get some easy baskets. We were playing against a set defense. Teams are going to take Bacho away. They're going to put 2 on the ball. We're going to put guys on the backside of Bacho. They're going to head Sean and keep him away from the basket in the half court. And if we can get stops and run, it eliminates those issues. And we can score in transition, score in the first 8 seconds of the shot clock. We didn't do that either game.
I know health-wise, this team's finally starting to get back to full strength. It seemed like Elkington, finally showed a little bit of a glimpse of just what this team could be, if he comes off the bench and kind of produces like that.
No doubt, that was a disappointing part. It's like probably the healthiest we've been in the least amount of energy we've been. Usually we're rocking with 8 or 9 guys, but we had a full team there, and when we played with probably the least amount of energy we played with all year. That was probably the most disappointing thing to me, and so we got to find it. What we had, muster up what we had before Christmas back. And we had a little film session, and we were going to watch some things before Christmas, and our energy and our effort level and how we defended and how we were getting steals, pushing transition, scoring easy baskets, how we were locked in. And then we had some clips that we showed this past weekend, and it looked like 2 different teams. And we got to get back to who we were. It's in us. We got to find it in us and lock in.
One of the positives, though, you did get a lot of guys in that last game, a lot of minutes off the bench. I mean, Elkington had game high 12 points, but just that bench production, how important will that be, especially going down the stretch?
No, I think it'll help. I mean, we're going to try to find creative ways to incorporate a lot of guys that can help, and maybe not put so much stress on the guys that play a lot. But that wasn't intentional. It was almost to the point where I say, look, we're going to play the guys that play the hardest and compete, and understand that that's what it's all about. And I was proud of those guys because, we played the key guys about 18, 19 minutes in the first half. We're down 25, and we went with the other guys, the subs, in the second half. We only lost that half by 5. So there's not many positives in that, but there's a positive to understand that those guys can't help us in a way, and we're going to try to incorporate them in a way that we think can help this team.
How crucial would it be just, to continue to get the fan support this week, especially coming back, after a tough road stretch, you need, people here Thursday and Saturday.
If those fans have ever been at UTEP in New Mexico State, they'll understand how important it is. Those teams had great support, great, fan support, and it was loud. It was active. Like you could feel the energy of them trying to support their team to beat Louisiana Tech. And I think if our fans could rally behind us and make our home court advantage a home court advantage, I think it's big. It showed at Grand Canyon, and it showed in years past, and we look forward to them coming out.
You did mention the lack of energy and, that your team went out there with. I mean, who is the leader that you need to step up to, rally the guys to come out, firing?
I mean, ultimately me. And so that's why I take responsibility for them not coming out with the energy. Maybe I didn't get my message across. At the end of the day, nothing's been learned until it's been taught. Nothing's been taught until it's been learned. And so ultimately me, but we do need player leadership to step up. And, I won't pinpoint one particular guy, but I will say this, all year, even during injury, Will Jeff has been with us. But he wasn't on that road trip, and you could tell it was missed. I mean, he's an experienced older guy who kind of has a voice more than people understand in the locker room. And even though he's not playing on the court, we look forward to him being back with the team. And I think him with a couple of the older guys can band together and we can create some leadership.
Ben, you got anything?
No, I'm good. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.